Nintendo Switch Sports had quite the unusual build-up to its release. There was certainly a lot of talk about it, but a lot of mixed opinions on it too. Some people were super excited for the new generation of Wii Sports, and others were worried about some of the lacking features, plus the removal of the Miis as the main characters. But now, about a month after it released, I hear absolutely nothing about this game anymore. Nobody makes videos on it, nobody talks about it. Heck, I'd argue people had a lot more to say before this game was released versus after. However, I think there is one word that describes why this is, and it is something I can use to describe the entire package. And that word is forgettable. So today, I want to explore this topic and give you some reasons why I think that nobody really talks about or cares about Nintendo Switch Sports anymore just 1 month after this game released. And I have 5 main reasons that I think have caused this. Number 1, choice of minigames. Okay, so the first point I have here are the sports that are included in this game. None of them really feel like new experiences, and they all retread previous ground. Let me break them down for you quickly. First of all, let's look at bowling, tennis, and chumbara. And the common element in these 3 is that they all have already appeared before in a previous installment of the Wii series. Bowling and tennis were in the original Wii Sports, and chumbara was pretty well the same thing as swordplay in Wii Sports Resort. So really, since there is so much retreaded ground in this collection, there's nothing more to do or say about them. They've already been talked about, they've already been played and looked at in the previous installments of this series. And okay, I know some people say that, well, Wii Sports Resort also brought back some old sports in golf and bowling, and that is true, but those were 2 sports out of 12. It was something nice to just also include with the 10 other brand new sports. Whereas in Switch Sports, this is like half of the entire selection as a sport we've already played before. But what about the other sports then, I hear you say? Well, those are badminton, volleyball, and soccer. To be fair, these are all new sports this time, but really, when you think about it, badminton and volleyball seem like they are way too similar to tennis. Sure, they all provide a different spin on how you interact with the main ball in the sport, but they all have the same goal, to hit the ball on the ground of your opponent's side. Again, including these wouldn't be such a big deal if there were more sports, but there is already so much retreading in this collection that having 3 sports that feel this similar to one another just make it feel like this is even more the same stuff we've already done. Soccer then is really the only brand new sport in this collection. However, this one is just kinda underwhelming and slow paced in general. But even if you like it, then that's still only 1 new sport, and the rest is just 5 sports we've already played in the past, or are very similar to things we've played in the past. Plus, Nintendo is releasing a brand new Mario Soccer game just over a month after this game's released. So this soccer as the only brand new sport now makes even less sense. Number 2, lack of other modes. A big feature in the previous installments, like Wii Sports or Wii Sports Resort for example, was all the other wacky minigame modes that each of the different sports had. Like target test for tennis, infinite man swordplay, or having to avoid these tennis balls for boxing. And Switch Sports has none of that. Okay, fine, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it virtually has no other interesting modes to complement the main sports. Seriously. Instead of zombie mode in swordplay, you'll have twin sword mode in chumbara. Ooh. Or instead of normal soccer, you can do shootout mode. Good. Probably the only good one is this special bowling, which actually has a lot of interesting obstacles that you have to avoid when playing. However, while that one is good, that's literally it. Seriously, I'm not leaving out any other mode or anything. I've talked about every single other game mode that you can play other than the normal sports. Wii Sports literally had 3 different minigame modes for each sport, and this one has like 2 for the entire game. That's crazy. So when there is nothing else to do other than play the normal sports you've already played before, well, then the game just feels generic and forgettable. Like, how does the 3rd entry in a series feel like it has the least amount to do in it? Wii Sports, sure, only had 5 sports, but they were all super unique from one another and had a bunch of training mini-games too. Then Wii Sports Resort had 12 unique sports, and now we're back down to only 6 with barely any other modes to play. The new games should build upon the previous entries in the series, so not only did it fail to do that, but it couldn't match what the previous games had either. Also, in these videos, I talk about a bunch of different video game topics, and I will usually try and add some sort of special effects into the mix, because I'm into that kind of stuff. So if that sort of thing interests you, then subscribe to the channel, because I have plenty of ideas for the future. Number 3, lack of focus. The focus of this game just seems weird, like it doesn't know what it's trying to be, and as a result, it just stretches itself way too thin. Okay, so for example, just a comparison here, Wii Sports was clearly a showcase of the Wii's motion controls, which was the main selling feature of that console. But then with Switch Sports, it's still a showcase of the Switch motion controls. But that's not the main selling feature of the Switch console this time. Like, the big appeal of the Switch is that you can take your home console games and play them on the go. Plus, you have very easy access to 2-player modes since you can carry 2 Joy-Con controllers with you. And then there's the weird issue of, is this game a local party game or an online multiplayer focused one? This is another odd aspect of this game because it's designed like a local fun with your friends party game, you know, with the breadth of different sports minigames to play and how it is very accessible even to non-gamers. But then the game's focus when you boot it up is totally centered around online gaming, since there is not too much to do offline and literally all progression and unlockables can only be earned during online play. Yeah, like in the past, you level up your character's stats anytime you play any sport. But now, there's none of that, so the only things to work for are these characters' clothes and such, which can only be done through, yeah, you guessed it, playing these sports online. Like what? I thought it's supposed to be accessible. My grandma doesn't want to play online, she just wants the ball. So I think people are just scratching their heads about what to even do with this game either. Honestly, by having a lack of focus, this game appeals to no one. These sports don't have the depth to be these competitive online experiences. It's more about having fun with your friends as you laugh about how they swing a tennis racket using the Joy-Con. But there is hints of cool online modes, I will give it that. Like this interesting battle royale almost bowling mode here, where you have to get a strike or you're out. So that is actually a really unique mode, but there is not nearly enough of that in this game. Number 4, try to be like Wii Sports, but Wii Sports worked for different reasons. Yeah, I couldn't think of a better title for this section, but hear me out. What I have to say here still makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people compare this game to Wii Sports, which was a big hit when it released. And Wii Sports was still super popular with only 5 sports even, which is less than the Switch Sports' 6. But I feel this comparison falls flat when you look at the success and praise of Wii Sports, since a lot of that is due to when and how Wii Sports released. Let's start with the first one, when it was released. It came out in 2006, at a time when no one had gaming controls other than just buttons. Sure, there were many attempts in certain peripherals, but they were usually more on the gimmicky side. So Wii Sports was probably the first game to really nail motion controls, making it more immersive than ever to play those sports. So at the time, that was a huge selling factor, but now, It's 2022, people are over that. Everyone has already tried controlling games with motion, so no one really cares as much that there is a game that showcases motion-controlled sports. And then there's the how it was released. See, even if you thought that Wii Sports didn't have that much content, you couldn't really complain because this was a free game that came with every Wii console. Even when some Wii bundles didn't include Wii Sports, they actually released the game separately, but it was still like only 20 bucks. Whereas Switch Sports is 40, double that price. So you'd expect like double the content, but there's pretty much like the same amount in it. Plus, if you want the full package with the leg strap for soccer, then the game is now 50 bucks, so pretty well the same price of a full Switch game. This whole game just feels like a been there, done that kind of experience. Really, there's not even much to say about it since everything has already been discussed in the past. So the game isn't even like a so bad it's funny, because it's not. What's in this game is good, it's fine, it's okay, but there's not even that much in this package. Number 5, it's not even a finished game. So another thing that makes this game harder to talk about, or just harder to keep people interested in it, is that the game isn't even complete yet. Now, okay, listen, obviously I didn't develop or was a part of the team that made this game, so I can't say for sure if this game is unfinished or this is just how it was meant to come out, but to me as the consumer, this feels like an unfinished product. Because on top of the already bare bones content in this game, Nintendo is providing updates throughout the year that include new features. And the kicker here is that these aren't even just minor things like new characters or new modes, but they're things like a whole new sport in golf that will be added later in the fall. So like, who even knows if there are other sports now that haven't been finished yet either? That to me already seems crazy that it was left out during the launch. But then, when you get this game, it comes with the leg strap peripheral. However, it doesn't even work for soccer yet. You can only use it in the soccer shootout mode to kick balls. That's literally it. But this summer, they're having another update so that the leg strap can be used to play in the actual soccer mode too. Do you see why people don't talk about this game when the main peripheral can't even be used in the main soccer mode yet? And like we looked at before, soccer is supposed to be the brand new sport in this game, and it hasn't finished its development yet. Is that not crazy to anyone else? And if you want to say that this game is just not going for anything special or crazy, it's simply trying to be the new Wii Sports, but now for Nintendo Switch. And that is fine if it is going for that, even if, personally, I don't think there's enough difference in playing these sports with a Joy-Con compared to using a Wii remote back in Wii Sports. But my point remains, even if that is the case, and that is, this game is just very forgettable.